And it was very fascinating the way how individual story could inspire other people, and seeing that things actually is not that complicated, or actually you've been there, but then you just don't realizing it, that is such a value that you don't know is exists, and you already experienced that. So I thought, oh, then when I was talking about yeah, what's kind of topic, and I said, okay, what can I bring on board to the community that I would like to share. And then I was just we were in process of buying a new house, and then I was just like, oh my god, moving house again, and I have been living in this current place the last 5 years. So these 5 years, I call this as was my home, even though it's just a rental place, but I have the 3 bedrooms and a proper house. And then I counted back, and I was like, Jesus, I've been moving around for 25 times. And then I was just talking to my partner, and then we are just brainstorming, and it's okay, each time what it brought it to me, and that's how did it make me to become who I am today. So I thought, oh, maybe that's a good topic to talk about. And for sure that in the community there are so many of us that moving around. For example, Latina, you've been moving continents and back and forth, and every move you experience something that is just, even if you don't want to experience that, but it's just right there, and you just carry it on. And sometimes we just think that we doing it because that has to be done, and then we forget to experience it, to remember what it is like. So for me, uh, when I was telling people that I've been moving so many times, and they said, are you a gypsy? You just constantly on the move. I said, no, not really. But it just seems like I am. But maybe I'm just an adventurer who discovered the world with turbulence. That's why I asked me have to move, or I'm fortunate that I can move around as well. So I'm turning 45 this year, and then I'm packing boxes in the background. This room I haven't packed yet. That I'm moving for this time, and finally I'm moving to the house that I'm buying with my partner, and we working together as a team. So it's like a huge benchmark in my life. Well, we haven't married yet, but when you buy the house together in Europe here, it's kind of like you're halfway there. So I was born and raised in Vietnam until 21, and then I moved around and moved out of Vietnam when I was 20, turning to 21. So in this, hold on, how do I move this page? Oh yeah. So in this journey, I have 4 chapters. So the first chapter is the beginning. That's the 2 moves, and that is the foundation of who I am. And then the chapter 2 is then finding my originality in a sandwich style, which quite interesting. And I'll give you a bit of background why it's like that. And then chapter 3 is liberty, but then with a cost. That's things happen as you thought, oh, it is quite satisfying, but then something is grooming to become a disaster after. And then for chapter 4, that is dreams, and just for an ever-changing ending. As I don't know what's going to happen next, but that is the life I'm heading to. So chapter 1, so the move number 1, that's when I was 3 years old, that's the memory I got as early as I still remember, that I was standing in the courtroom with a judge in front, my mother on one side, my dad on the other side, and they are, verbally, something was like in the air, but I could feel the tension. And basically, they were divorcing and they were debating who's going to take me. Of course, my mother won, but my dad had the right to visit me X amount of time per month. But within during that whole process, it just helped me make me feel that something is broken there. I didn't know what and why and how, but what I was longing was just a stable family, like a love in the family. And then when we moved to where I was born in Saigon, and then we moved to my hometown. That's my mother's hometown. It's Binh Hoa. It's just an hour away. And I was feeling some kind of loss, but I didn't know what was it. Then my mother remarried to my second dad family, who gave me the whole proper family foundation for me to grow up. And I thought, oh, this is fantastic. And I was like having a great time for my first few years. Then my biological father showed up on my 7th birthday, and he was trying to show off with his friends. He brought me to the restaurant to celebrate my birthday. And during that celebration, he asked me that he wanted to take me to Saigon with him. I said, but no, I wanted to stay with mom. And by then, he lost face with his friends. So he held my shirt and pulled me out on the river, because the restaurant is by the river. And he said, if you don't go with me, I will drop you to the water. So terrifying 7 years old, was crying and, wanted to just let go of him. So by the moment that he returned me back to my mother, I rushed to my mother. I said, I don't want to see him again. And that was the last time I saw him until I turned 18. So, but by that event, left a mark in me, that somehow I'm unwanted. That's the how to say, that I'm somehow longing for the love of people who close to me. And then so for that second move, I was growing up with that mark until I was 18, before I moved to Saigon for my high school. So these years of growing up, because the beginning of my life is filled with heartbroken chaos, within the families and changes. It's just like somehow it taught me to read people, and in the room as well. And that's you sense the tensions. You find a way how to find your own safety and watch your faces, instead of trusting the promises. And of course, deep down in you, you still want to trust on the promise. So whatever I give the promise, I'll do whatever it takes to fulfill that promise. But again, many times other people didn't fulfill their promise. That's just adding up the marks that left in me. And there was one time, very funny, my teacher, my kindergarten teacher, borrowed the safety pin, like back then there's a duck safety pin. um, and she said, "Oh, can I borrow from you? I will return you tomorrow." And then for years later, 5 years later, she was showing up at my grandfather's house, because my grandfather has a bookstore then. And I remember her. I pointed her. I said, "You haven't returned my safety pin." And that's 5 years later. And then the teacher was like red face, and then, but it's just something that, okay, you promised me, so you have to fulfill that promise. um, so that's kind of like a funny mark. That's just how I really want to work on. When I say something, I want to do that. Otherwise, I'm not saying anything. So for this two moves at the foundation, it gave me for learning that the family is not defined by blood, but by the care and love, which is like my second family, who I still now, whenever I'm going back home to Vietnam, I'm going back to that family, not my biological father. And I also learned trauma doesn't wait for age. It's happened when it happens. And for the age 3, 4, and 7, I learned the fear, abandonment, the power of imbalance. And yeah, healing takes time, but healing only working if you're willing to open the wound and treat it properly. And that took me years later in order for me to heal. And then, despite all this breaks, all this chaos, all this heartbroken, but that's the root for the strength that you built in you to begin with. Then for the chapter 2, so for the move 3 to 8, that's when I going to Saigon. I went to Saigon, to Ho Chi Minh City, to doing my college. And then after 2 years, I dropped out college because I was thinking, wow, this college didn't give me enough knowledge. So I rather go to work instead of studying in school. Well, I was just a rebellious girl. All my girlfriends at that time, they just went to university or college, and then having follow what's family layout at that time. And the idea is that you finish school, you get a job, you get married, have kids, and then that's it. But then I questioned myself, do I really want that? Am I ready in that stage? And even at age 19, 20, I had people like my date, or I was dating at that time, and men wanted to marry me. I said, bloody hell, I'm only 20. What do you think I'm going to marry you? I don't know who I am. Why I want to marry you? So, I escaped a few proposals. But then I just say, I don't want this normal life that people already set up for me. Even my family, my grandmother said that, I will find a match for you in the US, and then you can marry, and then you can go to US. You can escape from this country. And then my mother and I said, oh, no, I will find my own way. Then my mother moved to Australia for her study, and then she brought me to her to Australia. And it was short, but it was really eye-opening, because that trip helped me to realize that I can find my own way by figuring out my inner strength or my inner value that I have without knowing it, that's already exists. So my parents were in art academy. So my mother was an art critic. My father was a principal in art school in Binh Hoa. So throughout my year of growing up, I've been dragged to art galleries, and then seeing my dad doing painting, silk painting, and then all talking about architecture, talking about art and design and blah blah blah. But then they were so poor, so I was just like, oh no, I don't want to be poor like you guys. So I refused to study art to begin with. But Australia trip made me realize actually art can make money too, but you just need to find a way how to do that. Then say, oh, you can make film, you can make movies, you can do advertising, you can do interior designing. So that's just related to art, and you can make money. I said, oh, hallelujah. So I told my mother, said, yeah, I would like to study art. And then my mother was so happy to hear that, because she was quite afraid that I would choose to just go to work and not further studying. But then she said, okay, let's do that here in Australia, in Sydney. And I had a few racism incidents that I told my mother. I said that, Mom, I don't think I'm ready to live in this country. This is not how I vision myself to settle down here. And with to live under your shadow, which is, my mother had PhD and she was always a top in class. Academic, she was like fantastic, but she's not really a loving a type of mother that you will cuddling with and you were just like chit chatting. She was never be like that. And to live with her under the same roof after 8 years not being together, that was a bit tough. So I told my mother, said, you made Sydney as your home and you find happiness here. I'm very happy for you, but this is not my place. So I moved back. I moved back to Vietnam. And of course, moved back, no money, no job. So need to start zero again. But I told myself, this is only just a stopover. This giving me the strength and then pointing out what I really need to do. So, okay, I need to study to create a foundation for me in order for me to go further. So Singapore came up, and that was like, even Rotterdam came up as well. But my mother said it's so far away and they don't speak English. Of course, the Dutch, they don't, they do speak English, but my mother thought that otherwise. So my mother said, nope, not going to Canada, not going to the Netherlands. Singapore is fine. So I went to Singapore, and that's my kind of like semi-second continent move. Then when I in Singapore, I just, as a poor student, but I finally found the joy of studying. So I was like devoting myself into creating art, into making stories, making animations and films, and I had the blast. And because I enjoy so much, I excel very well, and I was in the top of the class. So then finally I told my mother and my grandmother, I say, see, I could be as good as you. Because over the years, my family always compare me why I'm not so good, why I'm not good as my mother. Even a tiny bit, I always get compared to her, that I never be good enough. And that was quite terrifying growing up. But then enough is enough. At one point, you just say, okay, you will figure out something that you're better than anyone else that being compared with, and you are just unique human being. And so in Singapore, I finished school. I got the job right away, a very good job. And then I was just like, my life was like a hallelujah, perfect. And then at certain points, oh, now the normal route, you got a degree, you got a good job, now you're going to get married, right? And then you have children. So I thought, now the next box have to take is to find a man that tick all the boxes, and I did. I was dating 4 guys at the same time, and then one of them was my ex-husband, so he ticked all the boxes. So I was really follow the plan, follow the what I lay out, what needs to be done. I tick all the boxes, and then just throughout the years living with my ex-husband, like my husband at that time, and I have first kids, and life seems like only getting better and better until one morning I got a phone call, and that's my mother had a stroke, and then she was in coma, and she passed away after 5 days, and that was a wake-up call. So as that's when all the regrets, everything that you didn't do with your mother, is coming back. I start, okay, why you didn't do that? And then it's torturing me for quite a while. But then at the same time, saw what happened to her, and she didn't do many other things as well, made me feel I wanted to do what is important to me now, that I have to do it now, because you never know that I'll be gone tomorrow. So I started with my create my own job, having a second baby, and then having want to make a lot of money. And despite health, I said, I'm still young, I can do whatever I want to do. So I work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then in between just sleepless at night, because at night I have to take care of my babies. During the day I'm working, I have a nanny, and during the day nanny take care of my babies, and then just going on and on and on for 3 years. And then at one point I collapsed. It was just like I was rushing so much that you forget to take care of yourself, and you're chasing the vague future, that your projection, your ambition, that somehow is not real. So my husband at that time saw that, but he didn't know how to navigate with me. So eventually we were just drifting apart, and everything once was so beautiful, everything was collapsed. And then in that situation, my life was not being on track anymore. So I made wrong decisions. I made wrong choices. I rely on social, turning outside to get support, but in the wrong way. So mistakes after mistakes, and it just things fell apart. And I was just like, what was going on? And I lost everything. So I couldn't rescue my marriage, and I didn't know how to. My business was falling apart, and then it's just like I had no other solution to pick it up again, and I had no support. My staff was trying to work together, but everyone had their limitation. And for me, I was the head of the ship, but I didn't know which side I'm going to stir to lead this boat. I said, I think we just need to stop and reset. So that's where I said, okay, let's cleaning up, let's close down the business, go back, and then figured out how to move up again. And then at that time, things just because I burned up all my energy, all my effort for years before that, so I collapsed completely. Um, and then my husband, then his job wanted to move him, so either to Japan or to Perth or back to the Netherlands. And my kids at that time were 7. Is it 7? Yeah, 7 and 3. And we said, okay, if we move to Japan, it will be another few years. Then the kids will not have the foundation to grow up. Or if to Perth, the same thing. And to the Netherlands, that's most likely a making sense choice because his parents are still have good health to enjoy the grandchildren. And then for him, his job will be more stable. And then asked about me, I was just like, wow, I'm still repairing myself. So it doesn't matter that it's in Singapore or it's in Netherlands or in elsewhere. So I said, well, okay, let's move then because the decision is no longer belong to me. It have to be my husband then and my 2 kids. So we moved to the Netherlands, and people saying that you don't survive. Most couples hardly survive for the continent moving. I don't know. Tina, is that true?
You know what? Within the same country, it's already hard. So being on different continent, that's even harder.
Yeah. As I at first I said, no, that's not true. We will make it. But no, I couldn't make it because, moving back here, he's going back to his hometown. So all his old traits is surface. He had his pattern before he met me, and he moved to Singapore, so he didn't show those pattern. Now he's going back, those patterns are resurface, and then it's just like, oh my god, you are just a completely different person. Then yeah, and then I didn't get support by having a social life. 8 years ago, moving to the village in the Netherlands here, during the day you only see old people and they don't speak English. And I was just wandering around in the tiny center. You have nobody to talk to, and your kids are just so young to have a proper conversation with. And yeah, and I have one friend which you have to make appointments or 2 months in advance in order to meet up with her for 3 hours. It's just like bloody hell. And then I couldn't find job, right? Because I didn't speak the language. And with my experience, bit here and there over the years, it's quite tough to find a job here back then, and no network. And then I said, okay, I went into depression, and yeah, I start drinking from 12 o'clock until go to sleep. And then I just say, shit, this is not good. I got one-way ticket back to Asia. I did meditation to reset myself. And I came back. I said, okay, give me 6 months. If I don't find a job here, I'll move back to Asia. Because I have to leave. If I'm living here in these depressions, and this is not healthy for the kids as well. But then, so all this moves up to this point, that is just like for being survived, just trying to be survived. And I forgot what is for yourself, what is important for you, instead of just looking around and trying to make other people happy while you are not happy with yourself. Then after that, I got a job, And then I look at my husband. Then we were just still in our 30s. And said, we're still young. I don't think we should stay together. We just moving on, but we still connect to each other as a friend because we have two kids together. So up until these days, 7 years after, we're still having dinner once a week together as a family. So that is a sample for the kids to see that even parents are not together, but they are still your parents. And I find like a lot of Dutch people here find it so ridiculous that I chose to do this, or we chose to do this, and even his family find it awkward as well. But they get used to it after many years, and we don't fight. Everything we talk, we discuss, and then we find solution together. It's just every move I have moved, so move from that small village to Rotterdam. His family helped me to move and then buy new furniture, everything. So it's just like you help me, I help you. So with all this, as building yourself to make you a better person, that by being kind to people, maybe at that point people are not kind to you, but as long as you insist on being kind to people, eventually they will see that. My mother-in-law, she refused to look at me when I left her son for 4 years. And she, at one point on the Easter day, like just a day or 2 days before, she was telling her son, said, "Why don't you ask Nana to join us for Thanksgiving, for Easter lunch this year?" And then he was just like, "Are you serious?" And then he texted me and said, "I think the sun is rise on the opposite side today because my mother was asking you to join the Easter lunch." I said, "Oh, yeah." So I said, "Okay, what do I need to bring?" So I'll bring flowers, chocolate, and then food, and then, like a big basket of stuff in there. And then I said, but I didn't give direct to her. I didn't give directly. I told my daughter, I said, "Ava, can you give this to Oma? Sophie, can you give this to Oma?" Then they said, "Why don't you just give to her?" I said, "No, this is just another way of thankful to her being so kind to mommy, but then through to you, because now you two have me joining this is a lunch with you." And then, since then, she's talked to me eye to eye. And whenever I travel for work, I always buy the most delicious food, like the date. I was traveling a lot to the Middle East, and the date, and she loves date. So I'm willing to pay like 50, 60 euros for just a box of 12 dates just to give to her in a very nice, luxurious box. It's just small little things, but make people happy. And then she's been kind to my kids and she's been kind to me. Yay! And so, yeah, that's through all these small actions, small changes in life, made me feel, oh, actually, I'm happy when I see people happy. And then give me the motto of, when you're happy, then people around you will be happy. Because if you don't have the happiness in you, how can you expect people around you love you or being happy around you? Just imagine if you are grumpy all the time, people around you will be grumpy too. Like the energy, your negative energy will attract negative energy. So if you're positive, all the positive will come. So that's my life in the Netherlands. And so now moving the 26th time, I think I just like see how it goes, and then if shit hits the fan, we just have to deal with it. So that's my life story. Sorry, I'm not that. I hope that you enjoy my story and not so boring. But in the smaller events, there are a lot more dramatic. But I don't want to put in it too deep, and it's become too heavy. Just makes it light and happy event. So that's about it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And to be honest, I relate to some of those instances that you mentioned, especially the very last one. It is so true. No matter what lives throw at us, if
Yeah,
we do maintain our positive attitude or our positive view, things would still turn around, and people will be attracted to our positivity no matter what. Like, and this is why they say that people who don't look good but have confidence or self-confidence, they attract more people than good-looking people who are insecure.
yeah,
Right? And that's the same concept. So even if we go through a lot of hardship, but we hold our heads high and we keep facing those hardships with a smile, people will come back to us no matter what, because people are attracted to positivity and people who smile. And what I love is that at every turn that you went through, you drew a lesson, even though at that moment in time you might not have drew the lesson. But later, when you look back, you realize, oh, I walked away with something.
yeah,
And that's life, right? That's life. We learn something, we grow from it, and we keep moving on. We don't get stuck.
yeah,
And that's the awesome part of it.
yeah. And also, because for us women, and we get driven a lot with the hormones. So when in a younger age, I didn't feel that was driven me because I was not paying attention to my body. Now, the older I get, I can feel that, okay, today is not the day to arguing anything because I would just want to bite somebody head off. So then
Mm,
I just, okay, I will avoid any confrontation. I said, okay, shall we do that tomorrow? Just postpone it, because certain things you don't have to do it right away. You can wait and give it a bit of time, then everything will be resolved by itself sometimes as well.
mhm,
And or when you don't feel good, you just have to be easy on yourself,
mhm,
um, and love yourself, be kind to yourself, because then you'll be able to last a bit longer.
mhm.
Mm, in my younger age, I was think, ah, I still have a lot of time. I destroy my body quite a bit.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Like the thing though, although I agree with what you just say about being kind to ourselves, taking care of ourselves, as we have not experienced life, sometimes it's it it's really hard for that to sink in, right? Because
Mm,
our view at that point in time is that I have the power, quote
yeah,
unquote. I have the strength. I have the youth. I have the word at my fingertips, right? So it's really hard for us to think, oh no, life is going to eventually shift to a different direction, and our health is actually something that we don't have forever.
mm,
But as a young person, it's really hard to get that, to have that sinking in. It's only once we went through that, we experienced that we realized, holy shit, health doesn't last forever. It may go wrong and something may happen at any moment, even though the moment before we were thinking, oh, I had this nailed down. And similar to you, I did not realize that I was abusing my body. Like I worked like crazy.
Mm.
There were positive things that only later, that when I look back, that I realized they were positive. Like one of the things that I was doing was that I worked a lot so that I could pay off my house, right? Usually people take like 25, 30 years to pay off their homes. I did it within 15 years, including the money that I borrowed to pay for my education. And that was a lot of money. And I was so proud of myself for doing that. But and then it's only after that I realized that it costed me my health.
Mm.
I was near burned out by the time I left my corporate job. Like still, I was fortunate to be on the positive side of choosing to leave. Some people, they got let go and so on, right? I
Mhm.
left, and but that doesn't mean that I walked away unharmed. I walked away mentally exhausted. So
Mm.
that was the price I paid
Yeah.
for wanting to pay off my debts within 15 years. And so I can totally relate it to what you are saying. And
Yeah.
for Bảo Ngọc and Trang, who are, compared to you and me, of the younger generation, like even though they hear our stories, I'm not going to be surprised that down the road they come back and they say, you know what? Despite the fact that I heard your stories, I made the same mistake. And honestly, the only thing I would be saying is that, you know what? Good. Make the same
Yeah.
mistake and learn from it, right? Grow from it. Like, don't kill yourself over it. That's the thing with life. We make mistakes. The good
Yeah.
thing is that we learn from it and we move on. That's it. It's not. It's a mistake. It's not a life sentence, right?
And also, I think one thing I only realized now recently, which I wish I could known it earlier, that nothing is permanent. So in your 20s, like during my peak happiness, so called, I thought, oh, this is it. This is going to stay forever. But apparently not,
Mm-hmm.
because it can go wrong in any minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say when you work in a big company, the company can go, they have bad financial report, and then they can let you go the next day. Or if something happened, then your family being shaken up the next day. So it just uh, even the happy, like the good moments will be gone the next moment, but at the same time that the the hell that you experience right now, it will not stay there forever.
Mm-hmm.
The next moment will be going up again. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you feel that, oh, everything is just falling apart, and then sometimes just let it fall.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, fall into the bottom, because there's no further down to fall down any further. Then that's the only one direction is going up.
Mm-hmm.
So the faster it can go hit the bottom, the sooner you can go up.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of like my what I realized recent years, and I don't know if I say this to my younger self, would I believe in that? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What do you think, Ngọc and Giang? You are in earlier age. If I say that, what do you think?
What specifically?
Like like now I'm telling that, if you are in the uh, health situation, or like in the bad situation, and then say, oh, when it's going to be better, and then you just say, just let the bad things come in when you just really hit the bottom, because then you only the only way direction to go is going up, because
Mm,
there's nothing else worse than this, right?
yeah.
So when someone's saying that to you, would you believe it, or you think that nah, it's not that true?
I guess first reaction would be if you see it's going down because you're so attached to like a vision of something, you want to have still things under control, and you see things falling down, but you still hope so much that you can keep things up, that you can still save it. Like your first reaction would be not realizing that, and it will be really hard to let go because lack of experience as well, of fear, of not knowing how it will end if you let go, and it's hard to accept the things they are the way they are because you're like full of dreams and have like high expectations, and then you realize slowly, okay, you don't have things under control. You can't keep it. You have to let it go. You have to let it fall, and you have to see it. You have to go through it, and it's painful. um and you want to like leave out of the situation, like you want to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you don't see it, so I think it's really uncomfortable, and you kind of can't believe, like you don't know, we just lost, like you don't know what's gonna happen. You know about other stories and different options, like it could get better, but you also know it could also get worse, like can go both ways, and you just don't know. So looking backwards is always like, oh yeah, you know, you have to go through it. But I know in that time you just suffer and you're just at your worst. And you can try to avoid it by trying to find distraction, but it's also some kind of suffering still. Like you can't avoid the suffering really, even though you heard about other people's advice before and you ran through it in your head. But I think you have to go through experience because maybe it's fate. I don't know. Um, so you go through the experience, and then at some point, as you said, like things are not permanent, so good things happen again in your experience. Like it's actually it it is your decision to see if it's a good or bad experience, but it's in the end just an experience, and you just make it you give it a meaning, I guess. You're the person
Yeah.
to give it a meaning. um but yeah, when you're like young, I think you don't want to believe it, like you don't want to see things falling apart, because from your experience so far everything went well, and as soon it's like when you first time you were like good at school, and then it's the first time you have a bad grade. It's like, no, this is not true, like you were always like a straight A kid, and how can that happen?
Yeah.
And you don't want to see the truth and won't go for the pain. But yes, in the end, it's because we are like really hopeful. We are like kind of in the system where we also raised to be like optimistic, and it helps us in the end, or like that is what we want. Like we are always more in this pro life thing instead of like going negative, because it feels also better, right? So um in the end, we always got to see the negative things positively as well, and that is also what we hear. Like, yeah, when you're like about to die, you're gonna have a recap of all the good memories, and you don't think about the bad memories anymore. But in the beginning, before you do like something risky, you think about all the bad things that could happen, right? Like it's the other way around. Before you start something, you will mostly
Yeah.
catastrophize everything. But if you go for it, you're gonna see all the good things.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, well, what do you think?
Okay. You mean what do I think when someone tell me that if you hit the bottom, the only way is to go up, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I think if someone tell me if I haven't experienced a horrible situation, I would kind of doubt that. Yeah, but to me, because I already experienced something that somewhat like break my ego, and I spend days like try to think. It's the feeling is like walking in a very dark tunnel, and every day I just want to try to get out, but I don't know why. And then I've turned to many ways to help myself out, and then I read about Buddhism, and yeah, I know about the theory of nothing is permanent. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the truths that helped me believe that someday I will see the light at the end of the tunnel. So now if someone tell me that now, yeah, of course I believe that.
Have you, Tina, have you tried when you're dealing with a problem or something happened to yourself, like emotional, just a topic or a thing, right? Have you tried to isolate that thing out and put as a third party, and then dealing with it as an independent, detached issues that you're resolving it separately instead of keeping it to yourself and get it affected to your mood, to your mental health and things like that? Have you tried that? I heard, but I would like to hear your opinion.
If you asked me this question a decade ago, the answer is no. But I have grew tremendously in the past decade after I changed career. And now with regular emotional regulations, I am able to do that. But 10 years ago, when I was still working in the corporate world, when I used to manage a team to manage a lot of money, no, I used to take things very personally. I think like everything that happened was targeting me personally. And then after I left the corporate world and I had enough consciousness or awareness to grow my inner quote unquote peace, then I realized, you know what? A lot of things has to do with how we view the world, how we feel, because we actually feel before our brain made a decision how to react or how to deal with a certain situation. And regulating our emotions plays a huge part in how we resolve the situations or issues that we face. And now, thankfully, I'm able to face any situation with more detachment and taking them less personal. As a human, it does not happen every single time. However, when that happens the majority of the time, though, that's already, in my opinion, a good bonus. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Any questions? Any
So,
any questions to
question
me?
from me to you, for it would be, so do you plan to move back to Vietnam?
Permanently, no.
Mm.
Part-time, yes,
Mm.
definitely. Because I have 2 daughters here. They are still, they still need me, and I don't see, maybe 10 years from now, they're grown up, they're saying, mommy, I don't need you anymore, you can do whatever you want. I'm traveling as well, I will be in here and there. I said, okay, then I'm free to go. But also I have my dad, my second dad, growing old in Vietnam, so he required me to take care of him. So I will be back and forth.
Mm.
That's why the last a year and a half, I'm flying back a lot, and also I'm setting up things and then trying to get certain business, certain activities that help me to connect Europe and Vietnam together, that I
Mm.
can travel back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now I have a question. So is it like a book you wrote now? Like a whole book about your life? Or like the first slide looked like the cover of a book, right?
Yeah. That's I'm writing this. I'm still editing it and still
Oh, you're
adding more
still in the
details.
process. Okay, it's
Yeah.
not like published yet.
No.
Thing is, like, just feel like it's like a really valuable experience for me here to like have you presenting your life, which is like super vulnerable as well, and your life struggles, and as well like to know, oh wow, that's like so cool to meet someone who would or is about to write a book, and it's so personal. Like also this experience, okay, the meeting the author, right, and getting this preview of the book a bit already. Like I'm
Mm,
super excited if it's when it's done to read it, and it's super cool. And I think for me it's also because I'm so young. I love to talk with also Vietkieu news that are older than me, so I learn from your experience. Like I kind of when you talk about your stories, I try to imagine myself this could be like part of my life. Like I don't know yet, right? Like it's so wide, it's so open, and of course we have like different beginnings and paths, but like still like it can all happen. And it's I think it's like so interesting because for me right now as well, it's just like this thinking of I just want to have like this normal, happy, more traditional life. I just want to work, find a husband, have kids, and maybe travel around. But I also see, okay, a lot of people wanted this and it didn't work out the way, but they still survived or they still made it, and then they still like are happy, and it's not the end of the world if that things don't work out. And also I learned like, okay, even though you get those things, still things can come up, or even though you thought everything is right and you did all check marks,
mhm.
like you're not safe, nothing is safe, as you said, nothing is permanent.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to know that there are so many options in life, like you can have so many different lives and every life is still valuable and good in every way in which story and path we follow. Like it's not one tunnel and one way out there, is like a labyrinth of like some
Millions,
things.
millions of ways out there,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and you looking around you is a good thing, but don't let it become a box that you're falling into the trap of being boxed in that environment that you thought that you would belong to that box, but actually you are your own box, whatever box, square, round, whatever shape and size is up to you. And even this year you are in this 3 square meter box, but next year you'll be 30 square meter box
Mhm.
or triangle box.
Mhm. Mhm.
Enjoy each stage of your life,
Mhm.
because each stage give you different lesson, different value, different excitement, different like fire.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think it's so nice to hear your stories because I cannot imagine my life in my 40s yet or 50s, or like I know okay how my parents are maybe, but I have a different view to my parents, right? So like it's really biased. And then you just meet especially growing up in Europe, you don't meet a lot of older people to like talk about those things, like just be like teachers, like they all play their role, right? It's not you talk about life and also their struggles and also maybe their excitements in their 40s 50s. Like I feel what I just see in media presented is like mostly 20s 30s. It's like you find your prince and that's the end, but you don't see how family life goes maybe, or like different concepts of lives, like patchwork families and all of those things, or living in different countries, and that is still all work out. So I love to like hear those stories.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm in here in the Netherlands. I have a group of Vietnamese ladies, and so now the group's only 4 of us, and 3 of us are having Dutch or Caucasian partners, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
one of them is engaged now, and she's going to get married next year. The other one is just dating after a year and like still in honeymoon phase. And me with my partner of close to 2 years, and we are buying
Mhm.
house together. So that's 3 of us are very different stage in life. And then the
Mhm.
fourth girl still studying. She's collecting master degrees.
Mhm.
So and so every uh, like we all sharing our personal stories, and I'm the eldest. Well, I don't know, unfortunately, but fortunately that I can see that, especially when the cultural, when you're in, for example, Jang, you were born in Germany to in a Vietnamese German family, right?
Yeah,
And then you went to school in Germany.
yeah,
So it's really quite different. Then you are kind of like stuck in between of the two cultures.
yeah,
So, but because it's all the way from birth to grown up, so you get used to it. That's become like you have two sides of the coins in you already.
yeah,
But I don't know if I'm right, but I guess in certain point in time that you felt that, who are you?
Mhm.
You're not really a German, but you're not really a Vietnamese.
yeah,
Mhm.
And my kids nowadays, they don't feel that yet, but I don't ask them to learn Vietnamese. I
yeah,
said, you're living in the Netherlands, you better have to speak like the Dutch. Use all
mhm,
the slang, whatever, with the accent. Be 100% Dutch first. And then your half Vietnamese will come later.
mm,
Because for me, my parents, even though I grew up in Vietnam, my parents were brought west. So they taught me all the Western ideas, all the Western way of living. While I was growing up in Vietnam during the 80s and 90s, it was so restricted. So I
yeah,
didn't
Mhm.
fit in Vietnam at all. It's just like bizarre.
yeah. Definitely. Also, your parents, it's not usual like they go following the art, and for me, it's like I think more typical. My parents are like they're farmers. They came to Germany and they're like not that educated, and they're from the north, so also like those traditional values.
Yeah.
Um, so and also, yeah, I don't really think about if I'm German or Vietnamese, but I see like some values from of me like are more Vietnamese values and some are like more German values. Like, for example, I I date right now a guy who is an adopted, like he's Vietnamese, adopted French. So he grew up with French people around him, and he has white parents. And then it's hard for me because I feel I come from this broken family because my family is like more poorer, but we look outside Vietnamese, but it's like such a different way of growing up, like he like in a really healthy way, kind of that way, like, you know, where I also saw all my friends kind of that also, like all my German friends, white families like super wholesome, and in our family it's like more chaotic. It's like Vietnamese style chaotic. And I still like also find because of that like some kind of, I guess, unhealthy attachment issues or something like that, which I'm trying to figure out. And it's like super interesting because then I feel, oh, this is like things that I value because of my parents, that they kind of got to me. But then I date this guy who's like more European, and it's like also right, like there are two right ways, like there's no wrong way, but it's like, okay, how can I figure out what I want or what is good for me without losing myself, right? And I also don't want to like, yeah, I kind of, I also don't want to like be in the situation where like, oh, what my family did was wrong, or like my family is the kind of chaotic and broken. Like I still like, I want to appreciate that how I come, and don't see it like, oh, this is like bad, and I want to like go to the good side. And no, I need to cooperate with everything because I don't want to shut things down, right? And that's why I'm also in Vietnam. And I remember in as a teenager, I hated everything about Vietnamese. My parents wanted me to learn Vietnamese, and I was in the third grade really excited to like learn Vietnamese in school. Like I would go like on Saturdays to Vietnamese school, but then the teacher, she would be like super mean to me, and then I would hate it because she would be like really strict with like a ruler behind me and stuff like that. And then I would hate everything about it because I saw like the kind of more bad Vietnamese values where they would like compare each other and fat shame you and all those things and be like super loud. So I hated everything about the Vietnamese culture. But now I'm here in Vietnam and I love a lot about like the Vietnamese culture. So it turned the other way around a bit.
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, well,
that's to prove that, you know, pins shift, right? Our view at one point in time is different from our view at another point in time, even though the setting itself may not have changed at all. It's our view that have changed because our experience of the situation had changed.
yeah. Cool.
Well,
I think,
ladies, I'm so appreciative of your presence today and of all of your sharing, even though Bangap spoke the list. But still, we got some out of her. And I hope that you will be able to show up again at our next month meeting. And as always, it's a pleasure to have you in the house. And thank you, Nana, once again for sharing your story. You know what? When I saw your poster that you created, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be such an interesting story of all the stories I have heard. And you proved it so right. Your story is like very interesting.
thank you.
Have a wonderful evening, afternoon, night, wherever you are. Right? Because like I have a whole day ahead of me. You get two of you are going to have the evening, right? Now. The night, and then Nana, you have the afternoon. So.
Yeah, it's freezing. It's -2 over here. Ooh.
Yeah, like you and me, we have the winter. Yeah. You and me, we have the winter, but Giang and Bảo Ngọc, they still have, you know, the good weather. So enjoy your weather, ladies.
Yes, enjoy.
And so I hope to talk to you again soon. All right.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Giang.
Bye.
Thank you, Tina. Bye.
Bye.